His name itself is a statement. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Akíndúró?
Akíndúró?
Akíndúró. Akíndúró.
Yeah.
Akíndúró.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Wavy Music News Podcast. This is our second only ever guest, and today we're bringing someone really very special, our brand new Wavy ambassador, the one and only Akindeyah. He's a genre-bending musician from Long Island whose sound moves from throbbing house to soulful piano ballads, all crafted through vocals, keys, and percussion. His name itself is a statement. Akíndúró.
Yes.
Akíndúró.
There we go.
I'm getting closer. Meaning the strong one that stands. Fused with the Jamaican expression Daya, meaning to be here. Together, the strong one is here. And honestly, that's exactly the energy he brings into every room. But what I love about his artistry is how deeply it has informed his mind. He graduated from Harvard with a joint degree in social anthropology and African American studies, plus work in ethnicity, migration and rights, Spanish, Yorùbá, and Jamaican patois. This genius is with us today. He's a poet, a musician, a visual artist who's building sonic worlds rooted in outer space imagery, astrological archetypes, afrofuturism, and afrodiasporic rhythm. So today we're diving into how all of that, the academics, the language, the culture, the cosmology, shows up in his music. I'm so excited for this conversation. Let's jump in. But first, I want to look at one performance, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Really need, so come back to me. I'll give you the world, yeah. I'll give you the world if we met again. I'll give you the world. I'll give you the world if we met again. Once you come back, I'll have everything made for you. Pearls and diamonds, 'cause they shine bright, just like you. Come and meet me under that starlight once again. When you greet me, I'll show that we're more than friends. And this feeling's not a game, and I wish you felt the same. So
Such beautiful, beautiful music.
Thank you.
So talented, and I love your voice. It's so rich, such a unique quality to it, and your
Mm,
melodies and that song. So,
mm,
can you? Oh, and by the way, I'm super nervous to be talking to this Harvard graduate and this incredible artist here. So forgive me. My name is M the Myth, and I'm the host of the Wavy Music News podcast. Super excited to be here with Akindeyah today. So that was a beautiful performance. Can you tell us about it? Where was it? What elements had some beautiful music, beautiful
mm,
clothing, and
mhm.
items with you and players.
Okay. So that is my song Starlight, and that is a song that I composed earlier this year, probably around June. And basically my goal was when I, got on the production software, I was basically attempting to infuse elements of Afro-Cuban rumba music
Mhm.
into the percussion of the beat, and then just write a song that goes off of that. Because I think that that's actually the first song that I composed solely off of producing it alone, right? Because usually I start my songs off as piano ballads where I'm sitting at the piano experimenting with different chords, then the lyrics come through me. However, with that song, it was my intention to really start from the point of production first, especially with the percussion, and then just build the entire song around that. So, what I found really interesting about that song and how it fits into the music that I've already composed thus far is that I think that that song in particular is extremely bright, it's extremely hopeful, it's extremely romantic, which most of my music is very hopeful and very romantic, but there's also like a dark quality, there's also a sadness to it, there's a melancholy, most definitely. And this is fitting into the broader theme that I'm working with, which is celestial limerence. So the idea of liking somebody without knowing them is limerence, particularly in a romantic setting. And then the celestial aspect is projecting that onto, the scale of the cosmos itself. And so, the title of that song is Starlight, right? And I have songs like Sunrise, Alien Tongue. These are all themes that I've been working with for like the past 2 years or so now. And so with that song, I did the percussion first on the beat, and then I did the chord progressions. I added some elements, and I had a show at Brooklyn Music Kitchen through Inspired Word NYC, and I got, my tag team of people. So that was on keys, Benji, who is a Haitian American piano player, grew up playing in the church, from Flatbush, and he's actually part of a duo that I've been collabing with called Flatbush Function, which consists of him and Swiss Chris, who is a really notable percussionist, and he has a very long career collaborating with artists like John Legend, for example, and he's multi Grammy winning and Emmy nominated as well. So we have been working together, kind of like developing a sound that I could package for live shows with a band. And so the percussionist there is Josiah Denoyer, and he's a really talented, multifaceted percussionist based here in New York. And the person who was on the djembe drum is actually my drum teacher. His name is Mamadou Konate Simbo, and he's a griot from Burkina Faso.
That's incredible. So connected on all levels locally, and it seems like in this deep expertise of music. And you're bringing these experts in to shine light on your message, which I think is so powerful and so interesting. And it's honestly okay. And see, this is why I'm intimidated. How do you say it again?
Limerence.
Limerence,
Yes.
celestial limerence.
There we go.
And it feels like I've never heard of a love story like that. And yeah,
Hmm.
that's the first thing I'm thinking of. Like what you're delivering to us, to your fans and your audience, feels like this. I mean, really, when you bring a new idea, a new way of looking at the world, it just creates such bright. It creates brightness in me. Like as soon as you were talking and explaining this concept and the music and your other song, the titles of your other songs, it all sort of comes together in this, I'm going to say, energetic experience for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a very energetic person by nature, I think. I am an Aries sun with an Aries stellium, so any of the astrology girlies will know that Aries will always bring the initiatory spark of light to any space.
Period.
And that again falls into the theme of celestial limerence, just like working with astrology. I have a song called Jupiter, which, ties into the idea of Jupiter being a benefic planet, but also,
Mm,
like the Greek and Roman myths about, Jupiter, and the idea of, Jupiter kind of being like this powerful figure, then contrasting that to Saturn, which in
mm.
astrology is kind of like a planet of karma, discipline, and consequences, right? So seeking Jupiter, running away from Saturn, exalting Jupiter, and kind of eschewing myself from Saturn.
Wow. Okay. And could remind me of Jupiter's, what does it represent again?
So Jupiter represents a lot of positive aspects like good luck, expansion, good fortune. And so Jupiter is known to be a benefic planet, which basically means that archetypically it's on like the more positive side of life, the things that people look towards, where like a malefic planet like Saturn is more towards like consequences of one's actions and like really deep lessons.
How fascinating. More on that in just a second. I am a Libra sun,
Mm,
Libra. I thought I was a Libra moon for a long time. I found out
mm.
that 40 minutes shifts me
Okay. Of course.
to a Virgo moon.
There we go. Okay.
But I still am a Libra selenium. So you and I are like,
That's interesting because of
yes.
Libra rising. So
Whoa.
I give off Libra energy, and then Libra and Aries are at opposite sides of the spectrum.
How?
So I hold a massive amount of duality, and it is a lot. But actually, a lot of my creative work, particularly my poetry, but I'd say my
Mm,
poetry and my music, is all about working through contradiction.
okay.
So having like
Yes.
a love story as we're,
Oh,
going to, right?
it's all making sense.
Right? A love story
Yes.
that is rooted in the idea of limerence. So coming at like these positive ideas of love from a stance of, rejection and anticipation and disappointment,
Yes.
and that's something that might not be commonly, expressed in popular media, but it's something that so many people relate to.
Well, the first thing I sort of thought of was our relationship, our societies, it might not be yours, but I know I have this with
Hmm.
celebrity culture because
Mm.
there's this sort of like, I was thinking, oh, how I love, like, and the myth for me came from, just really quick aside,
Hmm.
is like I thought like celebrities are like modern myths, and so I
Hey,
thought I was like we don't know them, but you're
hey,
you know
our social aspect of it all. And I
yes.
actually just in the car, I love to, I'm from Long Island. One thing that a Long Islander is gonna do is drive everywhere. Shout out to Robert Moses and no public transit.
Hey.
However, so I was just driving today and I was thinking about this idea of the modern myth, like
Mm,
I took a class in college that was kind of about like contemporary religion, like probably mostly focused on the United States. And so, we were thinking about like the absence of shared myths in our society that could kind of ground us. And then we looked at like particular examples, whether it was like Star Trek and like Trekkies kind of having like a religion of their own, Burning Man. But I was
Mhm.
just thinking, like, in terms of like, the idea of like a Catholic patron saint, right? Like a saint in Catholicism. And those would kind of be celebrities that we look towards, right? And so thinking about like Princess Diana as being like the patron saint of immigrant aunties, the way that we all
Yeah.
just like love these sorts of archetypes that we inscribe onto people who are just living their lives but have cameras pointed at them 24/7. Like, what does it mean for us to like consider Princess Diana as an archetype for like martyrdom, right?
Yeah. It doesn't go away. Like storytelling and myth making and like lore is like such a new, I mean, it's a new and old thing that has so Gen Z now, and is, it's
Mm.
like, here's the lore and everybody understands. It's more like it's better than my background, it's better than my story, but it's like we are creating our own stories. And so you created your name in a way, right? So, and your name means the strong one is here. When did you first feel like that wasn't just a name, but a truth that you were stepping into?
That is such a great question. So I took one semester of Yoruba in college. And it was in support of some of my studies. I did my thesis on Black American practitioners of Yoruba Orisha traditions. So this is like the Yoruba spirituality. And so I took the class to get rooted in that language. And my at the end of the semester, my Yoruba professor, towards the beginning, he promised all of us who didn't already have Yoruba names, which everybody actually did because they were actually Nigerian,
Okay.
except for me. I'm of
Yep.
Jamaican heritage, which
Yep.
ties into the later part of the name. So my Yoruba professor was giving me my name at the end of the semester, and I was asking him like, "Oh, what do you think?" And it was interesting because it came to him very quickly. It was just like such a truth to him in the way that he perceived me. So he gave me the name Akíndúró, which Akin in Yoruba means the strong one, the warrior. It's an archetype that is related to the Yoruba Orisha or deity Ogun,
Mm.
right? So Ogun is the warrior. He's also the poet and the Orisha of creativity. And one powerful way that he does that is through being a blacksmith and working with metal and working with iron and forging beauty through his strength.
Mm.
I think it's such a interesting and complicated archetype, and just learning like these stories rooted deeply in like kind of like ancestral African lore has been so powerful for me, right? And then Duro means to stand. And so, when he introduced that, the strong one that stands, the strong one, it also means the strong one that endures, the strong one who, kind of carries burdens in a way, but like the energy is very much like staying put. It's not active, it's not necessarily aggressive, right? That's somebody who waits, who could wait for blessings to come in.
Mm.
There's just so many ways of interpreting it. And so that is the first part of my name. I took the Akin, right? And then Dea in Jamaican Patois means to be in a place, right? To be here. So if I were to say like, we're Dea upon Zoom, right? We're here on the Zoom call.
Okay.
Um, so if I say Akindeyah, that means the strong one is here. So it marries, my interest in, African culture and
Yeah.
heritage that I've had since I was a little kid. Very inspired by people in my family, like my Uncle Barry, who was also an anthropologist. He
Mm.
worked at the University of the West Indies, also a musician. He
Wow.
actually wrote a lot of folk songs in the style of kind of like Jamaican traditional folk music and heritage. So he has always been kind of like a North Star in terms of having a role model that I could look up to, with so many similar and parallel interests. So altogether, I wanted to make that my name. And interestingly enough, this is like really niche lore, but I was actually part of the radio station at Harvard, and they kind of have like this really niche thing that they do where you like get a name that could be like 3 to 5 letters, and it could be an acronym or anything, but just like letters. And then there's like this whole ceremony when you like write it in a book and proclaim it as like your verb name. That's the name of the station. But I didn't actually think of the name that I wanted to do for Verb before that whole process. So I was just sitting there and it's just like, I'm like with all these people who I don't really know too well yet. I'm just
Yeah.
here at like this basement, that's a radio station of like a freshman dorm. And it's just like, okay, like I feel like I'm just day, like me just Dea. I'm just here, right?
Mm.
So, I chose the name Dea, Deyah, for my word name. And so because I already kind of ascribed that to myself in that moment,
I
and
love it.
then my Yoruba professor ascribed the name Akin to me, I was always thinking about like my public presence and what I would choose for a stage name, when I was just daydreaming about like becoming like a professional musician and creative. And so I just put them right together and it holds like a whole new like energy to it.
It's powerful. I mean, it's the more that you share with us, the more that I'm learning. I can feel the presence of that name energetically as well. And it's that declaration is, it's astounding. People don't talk like that today. And it's
Mm,
to have it like embodied in one name, at least the people that I talk to. I think some do. I have a day job as a teacher, and
mhm,
I think more in the artist communities there is that. But even like online, it's the more like I think my goal as like a writer, writer, maybe not so much a song, was always to be concise and clear, right?
mhm,
And to
mhm.
embody that in my writing as much as possible. And I feel like your name is the epitome of that. And it's magic. I mean, it feels like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
magic,
It
honestly.
is absolutely magic. I think that you have to be very intentional about what you create as an artist because music is really just like a very evolved form of an incantation, right?
Mm,
It's a manifestation. So, if I'm writing songs that kind of embody my experience, with the idea of limerence, with the idea of, feeling an unrequited love that burns with a passion that doesn't know the bounds of gravity,
mm,
right?
mm.
If that's the case, then I could produce how I'm feeling. I could make it into a song. I could have different relationships with it, right? Like I could sing the song to experience the emotion and get it out of me. So I could put it in the song and then I could come back to the song when I want to understand that part of myself, but I could also move forward. And like, so like that part of me that might be negatively impacted by those sorts of emotions can be just released and
Yes.
so I could just move forward, keep it pushing, right? And I was just thinking, because for example, like recently I was just at an open mic and I was performing my song Alien Tongue, which is basically about like being in this dream space and seeing like this alien figure who has a beautiful serenading voice. And, so like at the crux of the song, the voice wasn't a sound made up, it was an alien tongue, right? And so, it's like a foreign tongue, but also this person is an alien. So, it's a very emotional song. It's a very sad song. I've shook it up a couple times with band, and I bring some different energy to it that kind of masks that feeling, but the chords are still the same, which are very, kind of yearning, longing chords. And so, when I was up on stage singing my heart out and really like experiencing these emotions for a new time, right? In front of everybody who was just watching me in awe. I feel like that is an excellent example of the power of transmutation, right? And turning like those sorts of feelings of being unwanted, being unworthy, that kind of that lie, that myth, right? Being able to share that in a place that's completely captivated, you could hear a pin drop. That is where people are allowed to derive their power from.
That transmutation, that
Yes.
ability, and to summon it. You are transmuting my energy. This is like, I don't know, for all the listeners out there, please. So, the Wavy Awards is our yearly show, as you may have known, which brought you here. But we have just done this Wavy Ambassador program, and Akindeyah is one of our representatives. So we want to hear more about the project you're working on,
Mhm.
and also, or what funds the projects you're working on, what funds you're trying to raise. So if you're listening, by the way, please in the show notes, donate to Akindeyah's Flip Cause right now. This beautiful human being, alien, divine being,
Oh,
is raising money to push this transmutative energy out into the world. And I'm telling you, sitting here, if I could describe to you what I'm feeling is, I came in, I was so tired, I'm so hungry, and I feel fed. Okay, bitch, I feel fed energetically. So
okay.
tune in to this artist because he will shift your vibration. Put your money into your change. Elevate by elevating this artist, I'm telling you, okay? So tell us about the Flip Cause
Yeah.
Fund. How's that going?
Raising funds for the production costs of my debut album, which I intend to entitle Celestial Limerence. And so these are all work this is work that I have been putting together for the past 2 years. I wrote my first song on piano and voice called Sunrise in spring break of 2023. And so, I was just on campus. I was super bored. All my friends were in Puerto Rico or whatever, and so it's just like, how am I going to entertain myself? And it's just like there are so many practice rooms everywhere. Let me just get my ass in one and do something that I haven't done in a long time, which is not only singing music because I was part of the Kumba Singers of Harvard College. I was engaging that aspect of myself, but I used to play piano, I used to play trombone, and I hadn't done that all of college. When I was a kid, I would always compose these little songs on piano, and that's something that I really got away from. Uh, and even into high school, I would do like these improvisational pieces that, at that moment and in the process of reconnecting with my artistry, I came back to those same chord progressions that I would riff on. I came back into a part of myself that I feel like my college experience kind of made me forget. And so I was making a lot of music over that summer when I was doing my thesis field work in New York City. I made sure to bring my keyboard, and so I was just writing all of these songs. The idea of Celestial Limerence came to me because in a couple of my songs that I was writing earlier on, it would just be like this outer space imagery, like in the song Sunrise, first of all, a sunrise is an astronomical event. But when I was writing the beginning, I just randomly threw out, oh, I could orbit a planet, and it was just such a out of pocket kind of lyrical choice that fit in so well with the song. And so, I wrote my song Alien Tongue and just all of this music, Jupiter. I have a song called Rocket Car. Um, and just, working with this theme to uncover broader overarching themes that are very important to me, and that I've suppressed for a long time, like this idea of like being transparent about like love and
Mm.
your experiences with love and how you want to and intend to be loved, right? And just kind of like proclaiming that. I think that's such a powerful thing that often gets trivialized, but even with all of my depth, whatever academic stuff that I've done in the past, different capacities of my life, um, love is just an extremely essential human function. And so, there shouldn't be any shame in, expressing it.
I'm one of those people who sort of had to learn, and not really, but just to meet people where they are when it comes to love, because I always felt this very, I think it's how I was raised. We're very verbally communicative about how we feel. So it was always, I love you, I love you. And throughout my life, I've met people where love means different things to different people.
Hmm.
And I met quite a few friends, some lovers who just were scared of that word and couldn't really, you know, what it meant to them meant like there's like this sort of weight, but there's also like this resistance to it. And I wonder if, we hide. But the thing is, when you feel it, when you feel love and you feel it flowing from someone to you or from you to someone, whether it's like you like animals or babies or you're in love, that feeling is so essential to existence. I totally agree with you. And this thought just popped in my head. It's sort of like our like voices. There's so many people too that feel just so ashamed of their voice.
Oh
And
my God. Wow.
right. And it
And
I
it's personally resonant when you're
yes.
saying.
Yes.
Because, oh my gosh, like when I would just be on campus and like ask some friends, like, oh, hi, like, do you want to go to the practice room so I could show you a little thing that I was working on? And like, I was just very much in my shell still, regardless of, how many like accolades that I might have gotten in the past. Like,
Mm,
I feel like the dynamics on that campus in particular, and I'm sure at a lot of other schools, is that like I think the whole system thrives when you just like have this internal sense of inferiority among your peers, right? Because I
mm,
was, like this black kid from Long Island, kind of chubby, closeted for a very long time. There was just so many aspects of who I was as a person that didn't fit the archetype of who should have like social status in that environment. And so, like that like functions on a social level, on an academic level, like not advocating for yourself. My friends, just people in my community in general, have had really difficult relationships too. And
yes.
so, like that whole thing about like the voice and being ashamed of it, right? Being ashamed of like using your voice, but also like for me, it was like a very physical thing when I would be singing particularly my own stuff, like I did not project, right? I would, beg for friends to go to the practice room finally so I could show them a little song that I'm working on. And then they're just like, wait, that's actually kind of good. Even then, like the whole thing would be like, what I wish I could have heard more is the sound and quality of your voice like projected further
Mm,
because I could barely hear you over the piano because I'd be playing and singing at the same time. And I don't have a typical voice. I don't have the voice that's popular, I think, among male or mass different artists in contemporary music now. My vocal range is a baritone, and a lot of like contemporary R&B, for example, that's all about like your voice card, like how well you can sing. A lot of that goes towards the range of, a tenor, right? So like the higher male vocal range. However, I was just working with what I had, and I think it's just very interesting the way that I was able to grow as a performer over the summer, really projecting and also like radically expanding my vocal range because I have a low speaking voice. I'm a baritone singer, but I have songs where I'm basically doing like whistle notes. Like my song Gateway,
oh wow.
it's like hey hey hey, hey, hey.
Yes.
Like an entire section. Like that is like the longest section. That's one of the longest songs that I have where I'm just like singing my heart out. I'm putting it all down. Like be my gateway, be my gateway, be my gateway. You know what I'm saying? And so growing into that has been such a fascinating thing. And I was just working in the studio with one of my friends who's a producer. Shout out to Dewey Huang, and we are working on a track together. We got in the studio and it was a 3 hour session.
Wow.
And we came with a full demo and a verse that I wrote on the spot, built the beat from scratch. Working with these principles of like the genre of house music that I want to develop from scratch,
Yes. Tell us
which
more.
which takes Roomba music, like the aspects of Roomba music, whether it be like the clave, ba 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 ba, or different aspects like, you know, I do a lot of Cuban rumba, whether it's dancing or drumming. That's something that I found through the Orisha communities that I was engaging with in New York. After graduating, I came back home to Long Island and, I've maintained and built on those connections. But like when you're dancing rumba, something that's always very grounding is listening across like the different, three conga drums that people are playing and listening for this really faint but pronounced like sound of like dum, 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 and so really working and deconstructing that rhythm to build like a very unique sound, which actually, Starlight has those principles because that's the first song that, I was producing with that intention. It's just like very interesting, like working with that. But back to the conversation on the voice. When I was working with Dewey in the studio, when I was just singing my normal stuff, doing my high notes, doing my low notes, he said that the way that my voice registered on his mic through his DAW is basically like twice the volume of the regular singer, right? And he's working with professional musicians, right? But really just, training this vocal muscle is really opening up so many doors for me.
I love it. I love your voice. It is the superpower I believe about unique voices is that
Mm.
they're the ones that last. They're the ones that are remembered.
Hmm.
And to be mainstream and sound like everybody else, I know it's a tale that we tell over and over again, but truly you have a unique voice. Your voice carries. It is so not surprising that the volume on the DAW was saying you are two times, three
Like
times the
everything in the
professional singer, honey.
red.
Um,
Yeah.
and and to me, like that it is well how you communicate. I mean, there is how do I describe this? Yes, a loving presence in the tone. There's
Mm,
something healing and jubilant and joyous
mm,
that is there, and if I could like feel it, almost like I can't really
mm,
describe
mm.
more than that, but there's this strong energy there, and I believe that is based in love and awakening to your voice and your sound. I think is carrying that, which is you know why I probably feel so good talking to you.
Mm.
It's your I believe music to be a medicine as well, and you're talking about it being an
Oh,
incantation and a spell, and well, it just I'm under the spell.
there we go.
Akindeyah, I'm under your spell, and I hope our listeners are
It's so
too.
interesting. It's
Yes,
so
tell us.
interesting because like so much of what music has been, since recording, became an industry and radio, like the 3 minutes airway play or whatever.
Mm,
Just like all these like really particular structures. That's something that I'm very intentional about breaking out of. Even in like the structure of my music, the chords that I choose to use, I'm not using like a basic four chord, because I'm trying to make my own archetypes. Like I'm trying to make my own genre.
yes.
I'm trying to do things that are intentionally different and intentionally unconventional, but not avant-garde to the point where, that feeling of like love and safety and like emotional vulnerability and also like aesthetic beauty isn't there. Like regardless of whether you've heard Roomba music or not, like I would want you to listen to a song like Starlight and just feel good in your body, like in the moment that you're listening to it and after. And something that I've kind of been thinking about it is like, I'm not trying to make music to like give someone like an instant hook that like is playing off of like some psychological like kind of, things that are basically designed to like make money.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is like cultivate experiences for people, whether it's in person or digitally, where it will put you into a
Feel. Yeah.
trance-inducing music.
I can feel that. And I hope our listeners are have been put into a trance tonight. That is such a powerful intention, and I really want to listen to your album. I can't wait until it's a finished product, and I'm also excited for the process of it and the new fans and funders that will be exposed to your beautiful everything.
I'll share.
All right, y'all. That was Akindeyah, our new Wavy ambassador, and honestly, someone whose artistry stretches across sound, scholarship, certainly, and spirit. Thank you for sharing your world with us. If you're listening, please go support the work, follow the journey, and if I can I say join the Westerners?
The Westerners, yeah.
What? Just really quickly, what are the Westerners?
The Westerners are like my fans. I go by my middle name, which is West. That's a family name. My mom's maiden name, my grandpa's last name. And so I want to kind of honor, that legacy that I'm carrying in my own name by going by it as, my first name, West Foster. Taking that idea of the West, the Wild West, cowboys, Western expansion.
Yes.
Manifesting my own destiny. All those things, I work with that, especially in my poetry. But, because my first name is West, I think it's very cute to have, my fans be called the Westerners. W-E-S-T, uppercase, of course.
A holistic approach to your artistry and to what you're putting out into the world. I thank you for being here today. This is just the beginning. We'll see you on the next episode of Wavy Music News Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.